Yo, what is up guys? We're here today to talk about Qli'S Towers Turbo as well as other variants of Qli'S in 2018. And the real question is this deck good? Because I had a lot of people asking me, yo, are you going to go and play your Qli'S deck again? Because I destroyed a lot of different high-ranked players. Now, this is on DevPRO. This is my account that got, well, the screenshot that you guys are seeing is rank 14. We did eventually hit rank 10. That's the highest that we've ever gotten with this deck. Now, I have hit a higher rank. I did hit rank 6 in a very close format, which was running Mermails. But for the most part, I played Qli'S for a long time, the Tower Turbo variant. Now, I know we got a bunch of cards here, and I don't really want to make this a deck profile video. I want to show you guys gameplay and then talk a little bit about it, because it was a deck that I did actually definitely play quite a bit of when it was a really popular deck. Now, I played a lot of different cards. Just as a heads up, there are cards that do not actually even work in this deck. And I mean literally, like, it's not even that like, oh, it's really conditional. I mean straight up, it doesn't even work, which you guys will see over here. But the thing is I'm showing you guys a lot of different variety of gameplay, as well as a bunch of plays, because people are like, do this play. And a lot of these, actually, in fact, all of these are actually from the live stream that we just did like a day or two ago. And some of the plays that you guys will see is actually from my chat actually saying certain things. And I decided to go for it, and I was like, okay, I'm at such a big advantage right now. I can make this meme play, aka bad play, and we'll still win, because like, I understand game state a lot with this deck, and especially when you know exactly what your opponent is playing. Now, I was actually surprised. I don't really know the Goki's too much over here, but the thing is that I feel like the archetype does go for link monsters, and that's the real problem with this deck. As far as, is the deck good? Because that's the question I got. Like, are you going to play the deck? Dude, is this deck still good? The answer is yes and no at the same time. Now, Qli'S Towers coming back in the game made a lot of people super excited, simply because the Qli'S is an archetype where if you made towers, this is before like a lot of the hand traps existed. Now, he actually does get over towers, which is quite impressive, but a lot of times decks will have like 1 to 2 outs, and if you are able to spam another towers and another one, it's just game over. And you guys will see over here, he did definitely wreck my board. There's also a new card, Qli'S Genius, and I'll show you guys some interesting interactions and different plays with this card. It's actually in the replays, but for the most part, Towers was like the ultimate monster, and I mean the ultimate monster. It was unaffected by, at the time, it was unaffected by everything in the game, because link monsters do not exist. It was just Exceeds, and of course, well, you had Synchros, Fusion, you know, all the stuff that would normally have levels plus Exceed monsters. And Towers was basically immune to everything that was under its level, so I believe it's level like 10. So pretty much, unless someone was playing like rank 10 trains, you were basically very, very safe. If you made towers, it was pretty much game over, with the exception of like a few cards. Again, this is like before Utopia. That's when I played the deck like super competitively, but there again are some interesting plays with the deck. Majority of the time though, I feel like going for towers turn 1 can be really good against certain decks. Now, that's what I mean by like yes and no. The main thing that this deck loses to, guys, is honestly link monsters, and I feel like this card isn't even that good when you compare it to the Raid Raptor like boss monster, because that card is just immune to everything, whereas this card, it is a little bit conditional. You're very susceptible to other hand traps. Again, Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, not so much the Reaper and Reaper Winter Cherries, not so much that card. Again, there are some duels over here where it's just like a face roll, and that's what I wanted to showcase off. It's just a few face rolls, and I think there's definitely a few plays in here that are a little bit more interesting. And like I said, there are some cards that actually don't work in the deck. There's actually a few tech cards that I'll talk about that I think are still actually pretty cool. But if you guys decide to build this deck, I would not really recommend playing the Sky Base, because Towers is just obviously a better card. But some people were like, okay, if they out the 1 Towers, I feel like a lot of people will just go for Borealo Dragon. And this card is actually pretty good. There's actually a really good play with Laser Clip, which you guys will see in the plays very soon over here. I think it's either this duel or like 1 or 2 after. But basically what you're able to do is get 2 normal summons, and then you can make Genius, then go for your Pendulum summon, and then actually get the effect of Qli'S Genius. There's a lot of problems with Qli'S Genius. I feel like it doesn't survive that turn that you need. Like, you basically need to turn 1 and get Qli'S Genius's effect to search. Otherwise, it's very mediocre, because it runs into the problem it's just 1800. Like, yes, it's immune to spells and traps and link monsters effects, but at the end of the day, it's 1800. Like, it's too mediocre. If it somehow protected itself, it would be a lot better, and that's, I think, the main problem with it. Now, there is a duel where, like, there's a guy that's playing Qli'S, and he made like a first turn genius and then searched out like double cards. And then they searched out towers for next turn. But I feel like if you want to go for towers turbo, definitely go for that. But don't just go for the play where you don't summon towers turn 1. If you want to make towers turn 1, I don't think it's that bad against about half the decks in the game. Again, some decks, they won't have room because some decks that play Grinder Golem, this was a really spicy play over here where I used the Cat's Effect to bounce back the Qli'S Shell. I didn't have any monsters, nothing was searchable. So that was a really cool win over there, but I think this one might be the play. Yeah, we were trying out Sky Base. Again, I just don't really recommend the card. It's just another potential dead card because one problem that you run into with this deck is definitely running into not only hand traps, but very susceptible to being OTK. Now, this guy, he definitely made a huge mistake with that Ancient Fairy Dragon. I guess he didn't know what Sacrifice did, and it is an older card. Another thing I wanted to mention, just as a heads up, if you actually get your monster summon negated, the tribute summon, to go for a Qli'S monster, it will not actually count towards Qli'S Monolith's effect to actually draw during the end phase. But yeah, the main guy is towers that made the deck super strong, and like I face rolled until like top 50, I believe, in DevPRO when DevPRO was popular. I know some people are like, dude, DevPRO's irrelevant. Okay, this rank was when DevPRO was relevant, when it was like one of the most popular online games. But anyways, yeah, towers, you could get like you could teach someone the deck, and honestly, I feel like most people could probably hit that spot where you are like in the top 100 fairly easy. Okay, like I want to say it was easy for me, at least. I know some people consider some decks brain dead, like E-Dragons. I mean, I personally think that there's a lot of plays with E-Dragons. In Qli'S, there's a lot of other plays that normal people do not see. In fact, at the time that this was a very popular deck, I ran the triple cat in the deck. And at the time for Mirror Match, the greatest thing was just making a Trade Beast. Making a Trade Beast was like instantly game. And what you would do with that is you would bounce it back. There's another card called, oh gosh, it's Recover. I'll show you guys that card also, but I wouldn't recommend that build. That build was only specific when I was trying to play the deck competitively because it was like a one-card tech that could instantly win the game. It was good. But yeah, there were a lot of options here. But again, there's a lot of decks that just simply won't have the answer to dealing with this deck over here. Maybe it's this one that we have the laser clip play. Okay, this guy's playing Raid Raptors, which is a archetype that does also have a boss monster. But again, the main problem with this deck that it runs into is link monsters. In fact, there's a really cool duel that I have, but it's for my other deck, okay? My other deck, my Dinosaurs and Shadal deck, and it's a really cool deck. I don't want to get too much into that because that's a video for a separate topic, but basically, if you make Borealo Dragon, the Towers Turbo variant of the deck just loses. I mean, there's also there's a lot of plays. I know some people think Qli'S are just Resident Sleeper, and they look at it like a no-brainer deck. But there are some plays with any deck that people would consider like a brain-dead deck. But Qli'S Disc is actually another card that can actually work with Qli'S Genius, because when you tribute summon using, like if you tribute the, oh, I'm sorry, actually you're going to be tributing Qli'S monsters. I actually don't know if it's you have to tribute Qli'S monsters. In this deck, obviously we're all playing Qli'S, but, where is it? When this card is tribute summoned by tributing Qli'S monsters, you can special summon 2 Qli'S monsters from your deck, but just run them during the end phase. So that can actually work well if you special summon them both to the same zone. Or what you can do is special summon those 2 monsters, and normally they would be destroyed anyways, but what you would do is then, he equipped Moonmirror Shield, and we actually gamed him with Wavering Eyes. There's also a Cephalopod effect where, where is it? You get to like burn your opponent. If your opponent has more monsters in the grave than you do, you can gain life points equal to the difference times 300, and then you can burn them. This card actually can be game too. I just wanted to mention that, and then I don't remember why I just saved this one. The main thing I wanted to show you guys is this laser clip play. It'll be in here. I don't remember the exact one that I saved, but basically the play is to activate laser clip, and then what you do is you use your 2 normal summons to make that card, and you'll see over here. I think we're going for the Genius, and then we just pass. I was trying out a lot of different ways to open up turn 1. I think optimally, like honestly, this card is just problematic going for it into like a blind first turn, and I definitely learned that. I don't think it's this is the only real new card that we've gotten for the deck, but there are, of course, Link Monsters, and in fact, in this deck, I'm obviously playing Link Monsters too. You can actually play a lot of different things if you decide to play Cat. I actually recommend playing the Cat because the name of the Cat is like Perform Mage or Perform Pal Trampolinix. I mean, a lot of times you will be face rolling your opponent, and this was a good use of Sky Base where we were able to actually snatch steal an opponent's monster. But as far as the deck goes, there's really not any room to stun your opponent. Now, there was a few times, okay, this was actually a very tough duel. Now, this one I saved because what was interesting with this is that all the Qli'S now became non-machine monsters because everything with Zombie World out on the board is now zombies, which was, like sometimes there's games where you actually have to think in this deck. Like I said, especially when you get into the higher ranked sections of the game, but the Clifford Genius actually requires machine type monsters, and that won't actually work. So he makes a Moonlight Rose Dragon. He can't really do anything to me because, well, this card can't be destroyed by battle. We're going to go ahead and pay 8. But again, there was a problem where I could not tribute my monsters. So this card was just kind of stuck there because it was more attack than I had. He has the Swallow Slash over there. For the most part, basically it ended up becoming kind of like a stall game for a little bit, so he's going to go ahead and destroy Scout. Now, Scout is still an amazing card. Now that you only have one Scout, there are a few cards that I wanted to showcase off when I go into like the kind of deck profile. I want to say kind of deck profile because I don't really have this set in stone, because this was a video that a lot of people requested. Again, for those of you guys that followed me when I like actually played the game competitively and was trying to push #1 on the leaderboards, I think Qli'S is an excellent deck to get up to like a pretty high rank. But then at some point you have to change your deck, and the reason, unless you want to like super tech out the deck. And like I said, at the time, the highest that I could get this deck was rank 10, and this is like, I'm trying to think of like a good like analogy, because you know how like multiple people can be king of games. I don't know exactly how Duel Links works as far as the rank goes. I know that king of games, but multiple people can be king of games. This was rank 10 in the world, like as in there was only 9 other people that were a higher rank than me. It's not like, oh, rank 10 and like there's like hundreds of people can be rank 10. It's just literally 10th in the world. But mostly the deck was just pretty much this play. But again, when you get up to those higher ranks, like I would say in top 50, the duels got much more tough. And this guy just didn't know what to do against us. He activated Dark Hole. There's another guy that activated Ghost Ogre like against us for some reason. But anyways, it went super minus. But for the most part, I think actually is this the wrong? I think this is the wrong duel. I think I might have saved the wrong one. The one I wanted to save, guys, was this guy that made like a Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon, ran over it. Is this just going to be like game over? I think there's nothing you can top deck. Okay, my bad on this one. I think this one was the one where, yeah, okay, I don't think this is the Galaxy one. My bad. I think I saved the wrong one for this vid, but to put it short, he basically made Galaxy Eyes, and okay, he just quit, I think, on this one. My bad. Okay, that one was a terrible replay. It was the wrong Blue Eyes version that I saved over here, but I could basically sum it up. He made Galaxy Eyes, and we ended up, I believe, going for a Bori Load, and then we also had Sky Bait. We like snatch stole something, and it was either Bori Load. I just remember taking his Galaxy, and then we was like OTK. It's kind of irrelevant. It basically explained like what happened, but like I said, I was playing the Sky Base. A few cards I wanted to mention. What's it called? Pendulum Call? No, it's not that one. There's another Pendulum card I wanted to mention. It does not work in this deck because someone told me to play this card. Duelist Alliance. Okay, this card does not work. In fact, it was in one of the replays. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was a completely dead card. So, anyways, if there's a card in the Pendulum Zone, you get to add one Pendulum Monster or Pendulum Spell Trap card from your deck to your hand. I was like, oh, that's cool. If I activate any Pendulum, I just activate this, and I just, like, I'm good. But that's not actually how it works. It actually has to be a card with, like, the Pendulum in its name. So that card does not work. Now, cards that do work that were a little bit interesting that people did suggest to me, Pendulum Halt. It was in the video. I think it was on the first duel. But Pendulum Halt makes so if you have 3 more face-up Pendulum monsters with different names in your extra deck, you get to draw 2 cards. Also, for the rest of the turn after this resolves, you can now add cards from your deck to your hand. But obviously, you can just activate your Scout's effect first. Scout's effect and sacrifice are the main searchers of the deck. But for the most part, yeah, that's about like the only like downside. But obviously you activate those first, and it works excellent with wavering eyes because, well, you're most of the time you're gonna put like multiple cards, and then you search out whatever other one, and then you'll be good to go after maybe you tribute. It was an okay card. It was more of a comeback card. I wanted to make a Towers Turbo variant. I don't know if that's like the actual best version of the deck. You can actually play the deck two different ways. I didn't play the Demise variant. There is a variant that was like lose a turn, Demise. It's a very slow variant, and I don't really like that one because so many decks these days are very susceptible to not being in defense, because one mechanic is the Link monsters. Well, I mean, they can't go to defense because they got no defense. So that's one thing that like Links like kind of like just get around in the game, if that makes sense, is like you can't put them like, you know, defense. So that's really good. And basically, guys, wrong card. Barlow Dragon. When this card actually takes an opponent's monster, this card is absolutely insane. Where you're just able to take a towers. So again, all Link monsters completely destroy this archetype. Oh, there's another card that I didn't actually go for. This card is not a Qli'S monster, so it normally can't be summoned because the restrictions on Qli'S make it so you cannot special monsters except for Qli'S monsters. That's pretty much most of the pendulum effects. So you can't special monsters except for Qli'S monsters, but the cat lets you bounce back. That's how we make a lot of these cards. In fact, I know we didn't see it, but I have made this card several times. This and Gaia Charger are very, very relevant in the game. If you want to like take this deck a little bit more seriously in the competitive scene of the game. But I just don't think this deck really has the chance without some extra new support. I mean, we only have one new card, but I think it might have just been like, that's all we're getting, because a lot of different archetypes, they just got the Link monster, and that was pretty much it, right? They were just like, okay, here's one monster, enjoy trying the deck. But, you know, Qli'S did technically get multiple sacrifice. They got these towers. I just feel like towers, it doesn't have the weight that it used to, not only because of cards like Utopia, but this deck definitely loses to, again, anti-searching cards, like, you know, Ash Blossom, and then this was not a deck that like lost to Maxi by any means. However, the deck can definitely special summon a lot more. Again, Laser Clip is not a bad card. Clip. Which is the card that gives you the additional. It's the field spell. During your main phase, you can normal summon another Qli'S monster, and you only use this effect once per turn. And also, normal summons of Qli'S monsters cannot be negated, so that means all those Solemn Judgment warnings, like all those cards, they can't actually utilize. It is technically an initial neg-1, but it opens up the doors to a lot of plays, which I do like. Now, this is not a deck profile that I would recommend anyways. It's just this is like the last variant, I guess, that we tried out with these cards. I was trying out a few copies of these. I feel like it opens up the doors to a lot of potential just like instant losses if you draw doubles, but that's just how sometimes decks are. However, it did open up this play. Let me actually move some of these cards. Before I move all these cards, I want to mention Climate Change real quick. It's not a bad card at all, but it revolves around having more of a grind game, and at that point you might be playing a completely different build. However, I feel like this deck just, it lacks, like, I mean, you could play back row obviously in this deck, but I feel like it's just like a deck that it's just not really that viable in the state of the game as far as like competitive goes. Again, that's my personal opinion, and I mean, I was probably one of the few people that was playing Qli'S in the era where I got ranked 10. It was pretty much just Necros. Like that was the deck of the time. I will definitely say that deck was majority of the time a better deck. However, Naturi Beast is a good card, I'll tell you that. Naturi Beast this time around, I don't know. But I can go into talking a little bit about that because I feel like I know Qli'S very well when it comes to competitive. But anyways, Laser Clip. Here's the play. You normal summon 2 Qli'S monsters. It doesn't really matter which one. If you happen to get Scout, go for, or I guess, well, you could just add this card anyways via, like, I don't know, Sacrifice, Wavering Eyes, whatever. So you activate Laser Clip, you go ahead and summon 2 monsters. Then what you can go ahead and do, like, there's a lot of different plays in this. So, again, you Laser Clip, you summon these 2 monsters, and then you go ahead and link summon into Genius, and then what you can do with that one, this is, I'm going to disc over here, then what you can do from there is complete your scale, and then you go ahead and go for the effect of Genius to actually search out the Sacrifice, which can actually protect your card, and then if they destroy it, you can obviously get another search anyways. There's another play with this where you can go ahead and go for your pendulums. This is without technically using this. It's kind of this. It ends up kind of being the same play, anyways. But you go ahead, pendulum summon. You go for your carrier self. It doesn't have to be these 2, but you just go for 2 Qli'S monsters. You make Genius, and then you tribute those monsters, you go ahead and activate Genius Effect by special summoning them to, again, those 2 zones that it's pointing to. That's important. They actually have to be special summoned at the same time to get its effect, and then you can actually search out a card. But again, I feel like majority of times when you're going for Genius, you don't have a Towers play. I mean, if you I don't know, double summon, I don't know. But for the most part, I just don't think that like it's that great. Like you said, there was a player that did that and he just like lost. Again, that video it's gonna be in like the Shadal deck that I wanted, because I wanted to showcase off like that what I did to that Qli'S player, because there's so many decks right now that can play very, very aggressive, especially when there's so many cards that just like stop you from doing things. But a lot of you guys do ask me my thoughts on the new Qli'S, and I think that they're okay. It's not going to be like a tier 1 deck, simply because all the Link monsters destroy towers, because literally you can have, and Link Karibo can actually get rid of towers. It can make it have 0 attack. Like it's kind of ridiculous, and that's because Link monsters get around a lot of this stuff. Because, well, I mean, it's a Link monster, it does not have a level, so you lose that value on that. Towers doesn't have the weight with Kaijus. Also, there is technically Utopia. That's also a new card that like destroys like this build, and even then, like you wouldn't really. Like, you can only really run 1 towers, but against some older, like, legacy decks, you would be able to, like, you just summon towers, and it's instant win. As you guys saw from the gameplay, there's a lot of times where I just summon this, and it was just game. Like, there's no outs that my opponent would have to this, and that's just kind of how the deck is. However, you might also get face rolled. If you don't get a towers turn 1, and even if you do get a towers turn 1, if your opponent has an out to it, sometimes you don't really have, like, a secondary play. Again, when Scout goes away, it's so big in the deck. However, if you play the cards that let you re-add the cards, there's actually a lot of pendulum cards. It's like you add 2 pendulums. I don't remember this. If add 2 face-up pendulums with different names. Like, there are a lot of cards that let you go for these, oh, add back this card. But at that point, you're at such a disadvantage anyways that your opponent probably finished you off, and this is just a -1 in the hand before like you can make any like strong play. The problem that I mostly have with this deck is that you're very limited to what you can make, because the scales all say you can only go for the Qli'S monsters. And I really tried to make this card viable, but this card died every single time. I would make this card, then it would just be passed. I guess I could equip a sacrifice to it, right? Or I could just try to protect it via other means. But it's actually unaffected by spell trap effects anyways, but again, sometimes people don't know about these little things. It's a high IQ play. It's like the Secutor with no actual real back row, but again, that's just something that you'll have to keep in mind. It's just this card, like, if they came out with another card that just protected this card, maybe I could see it. But the majority of the time when you go for this card, again, you're not making towers turn 1. And if you're not making towers turn 1, I don't know really what's the point of this deck. You can throw, like, lose a turn, all those other things, but then you just lose to the same thing, which is Link Monster. So that's my thoughts on the deck. I don't think it's going to be, like, high tier, but who knows? Maybe someone will come up with a completely different build that makes it more viable. I also don't suggest this card. I was just trying it out. It had its use, but I do suggest Pot of Desires, because if you want to build this deck, I think the way to have fun with it is just try to make towers turn 1, and if you win, you win. If not, well, there's not really much play too much with this variant of the deck. Now, going to what I was talking about before recover. Oh, is it re-dash cover? Oh, we're in spells, that's why. It's not actually, is it oh gosh, is it re-dash cover? There it is, it's re-dash cover. So, if this card's in your graveyard and your opponent has 5 or more cards in their extra deck, then you can pay 2,000 life points to spell summon it, but banish it, leaves in the field. Basically, it was a level 5, I'm sorry, it was a level 1 monster, and the Qli'S all become level 4, and obviously this is a tuner, so therefore it makes it very easy access to making the Naturi Beast, which is something I would consider. Like, if you want to try this, the pendulums, it's good against pendulum decks, definitely. This is the variant that I did play. I did run Skeleton. Pot of Desires were not out at the time. I think Upstart might have been at triple at the time, so 2 Upstarts. And I actually had 3 towers in most builds. There were times where I did play 2, but anyways. Skill Drain's an excellent card, but yeah, Recover would be a card that you would normally summon after going for a Pendulum play, but you would have to have Cat, because Cat makes it so you can bounce back the other Pendulum scale, therefore you're able to special summon non-Qli'S monsters, which, well, this card you would normal summon anyways, but it has its double uses, so like you would... you could get its effect again. But however, if you did do this, now I had a lot of extra deck room. I don't remember exactly what the cards were at the time. Obviously, Link monsters were not out at the time. I don't think well, in real life I did not play this card because I didn't have it, because it was, I don't know, like $300. But it wasn't really that relevant. There were times where it could have been useful, I will say that. But it let you technically make 2 Naturia Beasts, because if it is in your graveyard, and your opponent has more cards in Act Correct than you do, you could pay 2,000 life points, and you could go ahead and special summon this card, and then banish it when it leaves the field. So basically, it looks something like this. There might have been like maybe like 10. I know it was not a full extra deck when I played the deck like serious in top tier. It's because this destroyed Necros. It destroyed this deck, and it destroyed other Pendulum decks. I don't really remember what was relevant at the time. Definitely Qli'S were relevant as far as Pendulum goes, but I don't really think there was another like Pendulum deck. But obviously you guys can understand, Naturia Beast destroys so many decks. And even now, I mean, if someone made a Naturia Beast against me and I was playing Qli'S, what would I do? I have like no options, okay? Like this deck would just straight up lose. If I didn't roll Skill Drain and set it, and you know, more than likely you probably, if you were to make a Naturia Beast, I was probably losing the next turn anyways because I had 0 plays, unless I, of course, had Skill Drain. But Skill Drain is an excellent card. Now in the OCG, they were actually playing 3 Skill Drain because they had 3 Skill Drain for like a long time. I feel like this video is going to be way too long, but it's only because I played the deck, so I feel like I know like a decent amount about it. Necros had a lot of different outs, but definitely it was like the Decisive Armor, and there was just like one random tech card that like a lot of people did not play. I felt like half people played it, but Necros were just so dang consistent, and they could just like destroy you super fast. And I mean, this deck was pretty consistent too, but if you just dropped a Tower Stream one time, you just like won anyways. Like it just didn't matter. But again, if this deck was to be more competitive, you would have to think about other options. I don't think a Tower Turbos is the right way to go. Heck, Recover might be the way to go with a Triple Cat. With, again, some of the newer Pendulum support, Wavering Ice is at 3 right now. At the time, there was not as many Pendulum support. There's a lot more Pendulum support now. If you guys have any suggestions for like just other good cards in this deck, I'm totally willing to hear it out. Because like I said, during live stream, I was doing like some of the plays, like even the replays, I was doing them, you know, for the stream, for the sake of just doing them. But majority of the time, I just felt like making towers was just like the optimal play. But you guys can let me know what other cool variants of Qli'S you guys can come up with. Like I said, there is the Lose a Turn build. It's called Lose a Turn, right? Lose a Turn. Oh gosh, how do they do it? Is it lose a? Oh gosh. Lose a turn. Oh gosh. Let me go to Trap. It is a continuous. Oh. I type in lose. There's not that many cards to lose. Oh, lose 1 turn. That's what it was. So yeah, you would have no special summon monsters, and then you would just go really slow. So yeah, and if it affects monster special summon attack, then you change defense position, and then also it also negates its effect, right? Oh, you can only activate if you control no special monsters. Then when a monster is face up on the field. Is face up on the field, negates effects during the turn that it was special summoned. So you'd special summon it, and then all the Qli'S would have like their massive attack, because you can normal summon them without tributing, and they usually have like 1800 attack and they're level 4. So it does change things quite a bit. But I really feel like they need something else. I don't know. You guys can let me know. I feel like I'm ranting at this point, but let me know, guys, what you think of this deck. I think as of right now, I might get back into competitive. Maybe go on Dueling Book and we're gonna hit top 500 easy with my new Shadal dinosaur deck. It's actually really cool. But that's a video for another day. Let me know what you thought of it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry it was a little bit long, but again, I just wanted to go over like a lot of the other things. And like I said, Naturia Beast is definitely a great card in the deck. Don't overlook that card if you want to take the deck seriously. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks. And the real question, guys, is Qli'S viable in 2018? You let me know down below in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'm signing out.